الفضائل ما يحصر ساحل، احسبني سائل يا مولاي، من وجودك تروي دليل الهايم، حاجة عندي تحلها وعطاك دائم، باكر اشفع لي حتما عليك القاسم. جانا حسن جانا حسن جانا جانا ترکی سن منم بهارم زیبا نگارم، دارو ندارم خوش و دلانم، جز لعنه قربان دردی درمان، ای جان جانم خوش و دلانم، منی مغلار جزوم رحملت جانان، داینا جان دود آقا جان سنن قربان، سنی تو ایست پیریم من امیر و سلطان، جانم حسن جانم. البته ترکیش به زبان منه ها. جانم حسن ای جان جان افغانی، ای کریم بهر ای نور سرمد سبت محمد، یا مولا من فدای نامت هستم غلامت، گویم سلامت یا مولا، شب چراغ محمد گلی تهایی، مثل حیدر حسن جان تو هم مولایی، بهترینی کریم بن الزهرا، جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانم حسن جانم. شما بهتر بردیم بکنم نزدیکه. ای کریم بهر ای نور سرمد سبت محمد، یا مولا من فدای نامت هستم غلامت، گویم سلامت یا مولا، شب چراغ محمد گلی تهایی، مثل حیدر حسن جان تو هم مولایی، بهترینی کریم بن الزهرایی، جانم حسن ای جان جان ای جان جانم حسن جانم حسن جانم حسن. اردو ای نگین کوثر ای کرم که بیکر نور حق مظهر، یا مولا तुम हो मेरे रहबर तुम है दिल के अंदर मैं तेरा कलंदर, या मौला मैं आशिक हो तेरा है मेरे मौला, हो मैं तेरा गादा है मेरे मौला, तो दुआ तो शिफा है मेरे मौला, جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانم حسن جانم حسن هلا هلا جانم حسن جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانم. خیلی رحیمی کارت کریمی یار صمیمی، یا مولا نقش نگینی مسند نشینی شور آفرینی، یا مولا چی میشه در های رحمتو با کنی، با یه گوشه نگاهت تو شیدام کنی، شب جمعه راهی کربلام کنی، مولا حسن
عالم امکان شد چراغانی، جبرئیل آمد با غزل خوانی، با غزل خوانی، چشم تو روشن یا علی حیدر، فاطمه امشب میشود مادر، میشود مادر. قلبي فرحان والاكوان تهني حيدر، احلى ميلاد بالاعياد جماله يزهر، بالفرح نادينا حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا، حسن حسن بالفرح نادينا، حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا، حسن حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا، يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا، يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا، يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا. بارك الهادي فرحة المولود بنصف شهر الله، هالقمر مشهود هالقمر مشهود، شع من الزهرة مهجة العترة، بالحسن هاليوم شيعة مبتشرة شيعة مبتشرة. حسن ابن علي دین مدن یامه، اهل عالم بدونن حسن آقامه، هستی زهرایی حسن حسن در کرم دریایی، حسن حسن هستی زهرایی حسن حسن در کرم دریایی، حسن حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا، یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا، یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا، یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا. اولین آیه اومد از کوثر، غرق در شادی خونه حیدر، خونه حیدر. دل
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام را، تلك آيات الكتاب وقرآن مبين. ربما يود الذين كفروا لو كانوا مسلمين، ذرهم يأكلوا ويتمتعوا ويلههم الأمل فسوف يعلمون. وما أهلكنا من قرية إلا ولها كتاب معلوم، ما تسبق من أمة أجلها وما يستأخرون. وقالوا يا أيها الذي نزل عليه الذكر إنك لمجنون، لو ما تأتينا بالملائكة إن كنت من الصادقين. ما ننزل الملائكة إلا بالحق وما كانوا إذا منظرين. إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون. ولقد أرسلنا من قبلك في شيع الأولين، وما يأتيهم من من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون كذلك نسلكه في قلوب المجرمين لا يؤمنون به وقد خلت سنة الأولين ولو فتحنا عليهم بابا من السماء فظلوا فيه يعرجون لقالوا إنما سكرت أبصارنا بل نحن قوم مسحورون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
عالم امکان شد چراغانی جبرئیل آمد با غزل خوانی با غزل خوانی چشم تو روشن یا علی حیدر فاطمه امشب می شود مادر می شود مادر قلبي فرحان والاكوان تهني حيدر احلى ميلاد بالاعياد جماله يزهر بالفرح نادينا حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا حسن حسن بالفرح نادينا حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا حسن حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا 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 بارك الهادي فرحة المولود بنصف شهر الله هالقمر مشهود هالقمر مشهود شع من الزهرة مهجة العترة بالحسن هاليوم شيعة مبتشرة شيعة مبتشرة حسن ابن علی دینم و دنیامه اهل عالم بدونن حسن آقامه هستی زهرایی حسن حسن در کرم دریایی حسن حسن هستی زهرایی حسن حسن در کرم دریایی حسن حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن یا مولا یا حسن یا حسن یا حسن يا مولا يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا اولین آیه اومد از کوثر غرق در شادی خونه حیدر خونه حیدر دل ربایی تو مجتبایی تو الگوی شاه کربلایی تو مجتبایی تو القلب صاح بالافراح حسن مولانا انت مصباح للارواح حسن رجوانا يا قمر هادينا حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا حسن حسن يا قمر هادينا حسن حسن يا هلا بوالينا حسن حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا 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 يا الحسن للموت والله منعوفك وبقلبنا اليوم نكتب حروفك نكتب حروفك حضرا نبني لك روح نفدي لك قبل اعتابك قبة نهدي لك قبة نهدي لك ما به عشق و به مهر حسن می نازیم از دل و جان برایش حرم می سازیم ای امیر و شاهم حسن حسن عبد این درگاهم حسن حسن ای امیر و شاهم عبد این درگاهم
يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن يا مولا يا حسن يا حسن يا حسن
يا مولا
اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حجا بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيره يا رحمن يا
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم لا تؤاخذني فيه بالعثرات وأقلني فيه من الخطايا والهفوات ولا تجعلني غرضا للبلايا والآفات بعزك يا عز المسلمين
نسألك يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع البصير الحكم العدل
اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيم
الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسع الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد
الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحصي المبدئ المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم
الواجد الماجد الواحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر
الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام
المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المانع الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير اللهم صل أفضل صلاة على أسعد مخلوقاتك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم عدد معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك كلما ذكرك الذاكرون وغفل عنك غافلون.
ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن أشهد
تكبيرة الإحرام. الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله أكبر.
الله أكبر سبحان الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. بحول الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله.
لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم.
ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر سبحان
سبحان
الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته
بحول الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر سبحان الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
دعاء: اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
للقارئ أكرم الحاجي. تم التسجيل والمكساج باستوديو أصداء ميديا.
عشق زندگیمی خیلی کریمی یا مولا، دل سپرده داری کشته مرده داری تو سفره داری یا مولا، دل به غیر تو دادن خدایی کفره، جز در خونه تو گدایی کفره، آخه تو با گداها میشی هم سفره. جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانانم. عربي فاطمي عطائك سفرة سخائك تذهب ضيائك يا مولاي، بحر الفضائل ما يحصر ساحل، احسبني ساحل يا مولاي، من وجودك تروي دليل الهايم، حاجة عندي تحلها وعطاك دائم، باكر اشفع لي حتما عليك القاسم. جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانانم. ترکی sen benim baharım, ziba negarım, dar و ندارم، hoş و dolanım, cüzlere kurban, derdime derman, ey can.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحانك يا الله، تعاليت يا رحمن، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رحيم، تعاليت يا كريم، أجرنا سبحانك يا قدوس تعاليت يا سلام أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا مؤمن تعاليت يا مهيمن أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا عزيز تعاليت يا جبار أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا متكبر تعاليت يا متجبر أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا خالق تعاليت يا بارئ أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا مصور تعاليت يا مقدر أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا هادي تعاليت يا باقي أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا وهاب تعاليت يا تواب أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا فتاح تعاليت يا مرتاح أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا سيدي تعاليت يا مولاي أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا قريب تعاليت يا رقيب أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا مبدع تعاليت يا معيد أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا حميد تعاليت يا مجيد أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا قديم تعاليت يا عظيم أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا غفور تعاليت يا شكور أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا شاهد تعاليت يا شهيد أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا حنان تعاليت يا منان أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا باعث تعاليت يا وارث أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا محيي تعاليت يا مميت أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا شفيق تعاليت يا رفيق أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا أنيس تعاليت يا مؤنس أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا جليل تعاليت يا جميل أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا خبير تعاليت يا بصير أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا حضي تعاليت يا ملي أجرنا من النار يا مجير سبحانك يا معبود أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مذكور تعاليت يا مشكور، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا جواد تعاليت يا معاد، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا جمال تعاليت يا جلال، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا سابق تعاليت يا رازق، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا صادق تعاليت يا فالق، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا سميع تعاليت يا سريع، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا سميع تعاليت يا سريع، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رفيق تعاليت يا بديع، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا فعال تعاليت يا متعال، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا قاضي تعاليت يا راضي، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا قاهر تعاليت يا طاهر، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا عالم تعاليت يا حاكم، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا دائم تعاليت يا قائم، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا عاصم تعاليت يا قاسم، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا غني تعاليت يا مغني، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا وفي تعاليت يا قوي، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا كافي سبحانك يا شافي، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مقدم تعاليت يا مؤخر، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ظاهر تعاليت يا باطن، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رجاء تعاليت يا مرتجى، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ذا المن تعاليت يا ذا الطول، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا حي تعاليت يا قيوم، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا واحد تعاليت يا أحد، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا سيد تعاليت يا الصمد، أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا قدير تعاليت يا كبير أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا والي تعاليت يا عالي أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا علي تعاليت يا أعلى أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ولي تعاليت يا مولا أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ذارق تعاليت يا بارئ أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا خافض تعاليت يا رافع أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مقسط تعاليت يا جامع أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا معز تعاليت يا مذل أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا حافظ تعاليت يا حفيظ أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا قادر تعاليت يا مقتدر أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا عليم تعاليت يا حليم أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا حكام تعاليت يا حكيم أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا معطي تعاليت يا مانع أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ضار تعاليت يا نافع أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مجيب تعاليت يا حسيب أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا عادل تعاليت يا فاصل أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا لطيف تعاليت يا شريف أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رب تعاليت يا حق أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ماجد تعاليت يا واحد أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا عفو تعاليت يا منتقم أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا واسع تعاليت يا موسع أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رؤوف تعاليت يا عطوف أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا فرد تعاليت يا وتر أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مقيت تعاليت يا محيط أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا وكيل تعاليت يا عدل أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مبين تعاليت يا متين أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا بر تعاليت يا ودود أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا رشيد تعاليت يا مرشد أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا نور تعاليت يا منور أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا نصير تعاليت يا ناصر أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا صبور تعاليت يا صابر أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا محصي تعاليت يا منشي أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا سبحان تعاليت يا ديان أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا مغيث تعاليت يا غياث أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا فاطر تعاليت يا حاضر أجرنا من النار يا مجير. سبحانك يا ذا العزة والجمال تباركت يا ذا الجبروت والجلال. سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت. سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. فاستجبنا له ونجيناه من الغم وكذلك ننجي المؤمنين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله والحمد لله رب العالمين. وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأغل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أغلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الظلم، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قدير، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا، وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبت عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي يبطى عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد اللئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأبلي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجود عليهم بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعضده. قهر بعزته العزة وتواضع لعظمته العظمى، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي، ويستر على كل عورة وأنا أعصيه، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطى، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفى، وبهجة مونقة قد أرى، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد سائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين، ويرفع المستضعفين، ويضع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراته. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المغربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك. استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له. أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا. يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا، وما غسرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وأعزز به ذلتنا، وأغن به عائلنا، واغض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا، واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق. آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله، وغيبة ولينا، وكثرة عدونا، وقلة عددنا، وشدة الفتن بنا، وتظاهر الزمان علينا. فصل على محمد وآله، وعنا على ذلك وبفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. We're talking about letter 31 in Nahjul Balagha, and this is a letter that Imam Ali alayhi salam wrote to Imam Hassan. And we said that because this letter has issues that do not match up with infallibility of Imam Hassan, we say that this letter in general is from a father to his son, and here to Imam Hassan alayhi salam. It's interesting that the month of Ramadan, when we chose to speak about this letter, there are two occurrences. One, we said that it is the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam in this month. Two, we have the waladat of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. So it's interesting that this letter, which is from the father who will be martyred in this month, is also from the father that will be actually, he'll have a child and he'll be his first son. Imam Hassan alayhi salam will be born in this month. So when we look at such a letter, what does this remind us of? What should we be thinking that when a father writes a letter to his son? You see the importance that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam gave for child development and how much time they spent for raising their children. And in this holy birthday and birth anniversary of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, I want to just share a few notes that I have about how the Prophet of Islam, how Prophet Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and how Imam Ali alayhi salam and Lady Fatima alayhi salam, how they help develop their children and raise their children so that we can learn. One of the main concerns we have, especially parents, and I don't think necessarily this is for the West, this is for everywhere, but especially in a non-Muslim country, is what's going to happen to our children. Many parents are concerned because it is a very difficult time to live in, a very difficult time to raise a child. So hopefully today we're going to be giving 5 examples from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam that will help us and reinforce the practical lessons from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, how to raise our children. So first of all, you see that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they showed and expressed love to their children. This is lesson 1, and all of these applies to us as well. They showed and expressed love. One of the best ways, children, their hearts are so pure. And when you show love to them, they show that love back to you. And they're just waiting to show love to their parents. And now those that are, raising children, it's the same thing, either biological parents or those that are raising, they're the foster parents, same thing. You are their parents, you are their father, you are their mother. So showing and expressing love, and this is one of the ways when you look at the Prophet of Islam, when you look at Imam Ali alayhi salam, how he showed love for Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Let me give you the story. A group of muhajirs were sitting with Imam Hassan ibn Ali and came walking with waqar, and were sitting with the Prophet, and Imam Hassan came walking with waqar, walking, controlled, regulated. the messenger of God kept looking at Imam Hassan and praising him. Now, there are some issues that when it relates to Imam Hassan that are specific for imamate, that the Prophet is showing love and showing the position of Imam Hassan because he will be the Imam of the age. Okay, that's specific for Imam Hassan. But also some of it relates to just being the grandfather, or some of it relates to just being the father. So then Imam Hassan alayhi salam comes, or both, you could say. وَهُوَ وَلَدِي, he is my son. Very interesting, the Prophet of Islam many times, and even in the Quran, when you look at ayah mubahala, it doesn't say bring your grandchildren, it says bring your sons. Well, technically, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam were the grandchildren of the Prophet. But in many of the hadith that we have from Shia and Sunni, the Prophet refers to Imam Hassan alayhi salam as his own son. And that's a show of love, and a show of how close also in terms of the position of Imam Hassan alayhi salam to the position of messengership. وَهُوَ وَلَدِي وَطَاهِرْ مِن نَفْسِي, he is my purification of my soul. وَضِلْعٌ عَنْ أَطْلَاعِي, this hadith from Al-Adal Al-Qawiyya Al-Daf Al-Mukhalif Al-Yawmiyya from the brother of Al-Mahli, narrated that the Prophet has said. هَذَا سِبْطِي, here then he says, first is my son, then he says he is my grandson. وَقُرَّةَ عَيْنِي, the light of my eyes. See, expressing love, showing love. بِأَبِي هُوَ, my father be sacrificed for him. See how beautiful the Prophet of Islam talks to their children. We have many parents today that unfortunately, some of them, they don't show the love for their children. They're looking for love. And then when they go out, na'udhu billah, they go out and somebody wants to show them a little bit of love, they get enticed, they get trapped. But if that home is an environment that that child really feels that they're being loved, I'm not saying that you have to say yes to everything they need. But they truly feel nobody loves them as much as their parents. It's going to be hard for someone else in the streets or someone else outside to trap them with love and to express love to them, and then to take them away from, or to take them in a path that they shouldn't go. Anta tufahati, you are my fruit, you are my apple. But anta habibi, you are my love. This is also in terms of walayat tonight. How can anybody, when you see these hadith, ever dare to fight against Imam Hassan? How can you have this is also a historical lesson, the Umayyads, how could they fight? How could Muawiyah, people follow somebody that is fighting against Imam Hassan, the grandchild of the Prophet? These words, and the companions all heard these words. وَأَنْتَ حَبِيبِي وَمُحْجَةَ قَلْبِي, the love of my heart. Brothers and sisters, while we're celebrating the waladat of Imam Hassan, how happy are you making Rasulullah? How happy are you making the Prophet of Islam? Then it says he took his hands, the Prophet of Islam, he takes the hands of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, again showing love. وَأَخَذَ بِيَدِهِ فَمَشَى مَعَهُ, he took his hands and walked with him. Gentle was the Prophet of Islam. He was rahmatul lil alameen, and his specific rahmat was for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, his family. Then it says he was sitting and he was looking, and then this hadith says something even higher than this. It says that the Prophet of Islam would not stop looking at him. وَهُوَ لَا يَرْفَعْ بَصَرَهُ عَنْ, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet, was not stop looking at Imam Hassan alayhi salam. ثُمَّ قَالَ إِنَّهُ سَيَكُونُ بَعْدِي هَادِيًا مَهْدِيًّا, then he says, after me, he will be the guide, and this is a gift from the Lord of the worlds. ثُمَّ قَالَ إِنَّهُ سَيَكُونُ بَعْدِي هَادِيًا مَهْدِيًّا هَذَا هِدِيَّةٌ مِنْ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, He is a gift from the Lord of the world in this tradition. He is a gift. That is from a Shia hadith. Let me bring you from Sunni hadith, the love of the Prophet and how the Prophet showed his love for Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and how we should show our love for our children and express our love for our children. Let them know how much you love them. Let them know. Let it not be unclear for them. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein, in tradition from Hakim al-Nishaburi, he has a book called Mustadrak al-Sahihain, narrated from my Hakim. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein ibnai, man ahabbahuma ahabbani. Al-Hassan and Hussein are my two children. Whoever loves them loves me. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّنِي أَحَبَّهُ اللَّهُ. And whoever loves me loves Allah. The love of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is the love of God. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّهُ اللَّهُ أَدْخَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. And whoever Allah loves, He'll make him enter heaven. The love of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is heavenly. Brothers and sisters, while you're focusing and trying to learn at the same time how to be a better parent, you are good parents, but how to perfect your being a parent. And those that don't have children yet, and those that are raising or teachers and they want to help others, they might not have children. Islam is the religion of love. The madhab of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam is a religion of love. Hal ad-din illa al-hubb. Is religion anything but love? Then to warn those that are going to be an enemy of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and to shed light on the importance of Imam Hassan. وَمَنْ أَبْغَدَهُمَا أَبْغَدَنِي. And whoever has hatred of Al-Hassan and Hussein hates me. This is a Sunni hadith, it's not from Shia. وَمَنْ أَبْغَدَنِي أَبْغَدَهُ اللَّهُ وَمَنْ أَبْغَدَهُ اللَّهُ أَدْخَلَهُ النَّارِ. And whoever hates them hates me. If I said I made a mistake. Whoever hates them hates me. Whoever hates me hates God. God hates. And whoever God hates will enter the fire. So this gives us this line about Imam Hassan, that two things. One, the love that the Prophet had and how he expressed it for Imam Hassan. Two, the love of Imam Hassan is equal to heaven, and the hatred of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is equal, and Hussein alayhi salam is equal to the hellfire. Shia sources. So how could anybody fight against them? How could anybody unsheath their sword against Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein? Their place would be obviously hell. So therefore, this was the first lesson that we learned from Imam Hassan, showing and expressing love. Two, the other way is teaching children. Teaching them and showing them how much you care for them, and spending time with them, and giving, as you see in this letter of Imam Ali alayhi salam to Imam Hassan. In general, we said yes, specifically not for Imam Hassan, but there are things that Imam Hassan can learn, from it. And you see in the Quran, in Surah Luqman, the letter, not the letter necessarily, the advice that Luqman gives to his son in many verses of the Quran. And so therefore we see in the religion of Islam, the duty that parents have to their children. One is to be their first teacher, to teach them. And one of the mistakes that some of the Muslimin make is that when they send their kids to Islamic school, they think that because they're going to an Islamic school now, and they expect the teachers and everyone to teach them Islam, and they shed any type of responsibility for the religious education of their children. They think that, okay, now they're going to school, they're going to learn Islam there. But no, from the very beginning, we should be teaching our children from a young age. We should be teaching them. They ask, some of our ulama we have that are psychologists. I was looking at this, before this, and they ask them questions about how can they be good followers of Imam Mahdi, our children, in this day and age. And he would answer that you have to teach them who Imam Mahdi is at a young age. At a young age, show them who Imam Mahdi is. Tell them what Imam Mahdi is going to do. Kids, they love power, they love strength. Now, I myself, when I tell my son about Imam Mahdi and tell him how, what he's going to do, he keeps saying, he's at a young age, how strong Imam Mahdi is. He says, qawi, strong. For him, Imam Mahdi right now is a hero for him because he will, we can say in a way, conquer the entire world for, eradicate injustice. And I mentioned to him, when there's sickness now, there's a pandemic, there's going to be a time when Imam Mahdi comes and he's going to cure everyone. He's going to cure because we are separated from him when he puts his holy hand on the head of people, and there will be advancements in science and knowledge that people will not have to suffer this way anymore. Look at the hadith when it comes to the health situation after the government and Imam Mahdi. People will not have to starve anymore. People will not have to be sick this way. People will not have to live in insecurity, in danger, and violence. So teaching your children at a young age about the holy Imams. They love stories, spending time. And obviously this takes, for the teacher, it's going to take for the parent a little bit of knowledge. They're going to have to learn. They're going to have to study. And the more you study, the more knowledge you have to offer. And that is why I recommend so many times for parents to attend, especially classes of theology. I myself started a class on Saturdays on theology, proving religion, proving God's existence. Later on, we'll prove nubuwwat, prophethood. These especially are for ourselves, and we understand ways to, when our children has questions, we can answer them. So teaching and being a reference for children, not just saying, okay, Maulana, please go tell them the story, or teacher, tell them about. No, when they get it from their parents themselves, that's the best way. So we see that in this example, I'm just going to give you some of the beautiful advice of Imam Ali alayhi salam, for example, to Imam Hassan. وَذَلِّلْهُ talks about the heart. وَذَلِّلْهُ بِذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ. Father teaching his son, or in general, sons in general. وَذَلِّلْهُ بِذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ. My son, attributed to Imam Ali, tame the heart by recalling death, remembering death. وَقَرَّرْهُ بِالْفَنَاءِ. And make it believe in mortality. Make it stable, make it testify in mortality that we're going to leave this world. وَبَصِرْهُ فَجَاءِ الدُّنْيَا. And make it see the misfortunate of this world. Make it see the balas and calamities of the world. Get your heart, prepare your heart by having it not be attached to this world. This is the beautiful father and son dialogue, or father and advice and admonition. One of the things, as to joke a little bit, because it's the night of the Waladat, our teacher Sheikh Ahmad Mushtaidi would say that the ulama, the speakers, the lecturers, they are both fathers and their mothers. When somebody speaks on the minbar, he is both a father and a mother. He's a father because he's giving advice, he's giving nasiha. He's telling people, do this, don't do this. And also he's a mother because he sings lullabies and people fall asleep during their speech. So generally, we have this obligation to teach our kids. And that's the second way that, it doesn't matter what environment you are, what country you live. I know many people, they came to very holy cities, they came to very holy countries, religious countries, but they left the teachings to somebody else. They said, oh, there's a Muslim country, everyone's good, we're all family. I don't have to worry too much anymore. Everywhere you are, any time period, especially this time period, you have to put time to teaching your child. Let me tell you an example. Ayatollah al-Uzma Burujerdi, they say, had a daughter that he loved a lot. And it's actually a nice story, but I'll warn you already, it's a sad story. Ayatollah Burujerdi was a fantastic, phenomenal scholar. That at his time, maybe he lived around 70 years ago, 50 years ago, he was the only marja taqlid, the main marja taqlid. We didn't have like now a few, maraja that are the predominant marriage. At this time, there's only one. And he had very good akhlaq when it came to being generous, when it came to the city of Qom. And I was reading that he put a power station, he gave electricity to the people of Qom. Because at that time, the Shah of Iran, he didn't like the people of Qom, because the people of Qom and the ulama were always against the Western influence that the Shah was bringing to Iran, and Westernization and removing of Islamic beliefs and practices from the Iranian people. So the city of Qom were not his best friends. So he left them at a very, in poverty. And a lot of the hospitals we have, the people built, and electricity we see from Ayatollah Burujirdi. Ayatollah Burujirdi, he had a daughter, and I was reading about this. And he had a daughter that he himself spent time, imagine Mushtahid. Maybe he wasn't Marja Taqlid at that time, but he was a Mushtahid. A Mushtahid spending time at the age, I think around 6 or something, 8 or 6, he started privately tutoring her with the Hawza studies. Imagine Ayatollah Burujirdi is your father and your teacher. And she continued studying and studying and studying. And at a very young age, after she got married, at that time she was close to ijtihad. She was close to ijtihad. This is how much time. But this is the sad story though that Ayatollah Burujirdi faced. And this is the reality of this world, is that when she came to give birth, she passed away during labor. All this zahmat, all this effort that Ayatollah Burujirdi gave and taught her, she passed away during labor. And he would say Farsi, Sukhtam, I'm on fire, I'm on fire, losing this daughter. So we see that our ulama, the prophets, students of the prophet, students of this imams, they would spend time teaching their children. So that's the second thing. And you see, how Imam Ali alayhi salam in this example would teach Imam Hassan. The third is, so far, you want to write these down. This is a good idea. Showing love and expressing love. A lot of times to your children, you can say, I don't like this action. That's better than, saying other things. 2, teaching them. 3, worshiping together. When you worship together, and for example, Shahr Ramadan right now, one of our ulama, Ayatollah Abdul Karim Kashmiri, was saying how you don't necessarily have to go to the mosque all the time to break your iftar. If the children aren't going, men will just go alone in the mosque and then they'd come home. Have your iftar at the house, because that iftar, it is, that child gets very excited. You can even tell them when it's iftar time, the adhan time, when they're young. Congratulations, or if, even if they're not fasting, congratulations, it's iftar time. And they start loving Shahr Ramadan because you're worshiping, you're breaking fast together. And you tell them, come and eat with me. Come and sit at this sofra. This has barakat. Have them even bring the first date and give it to you and participate in this important worship. So teaching your kids and worshiping together. The Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when you look at the verse of It'am, verses 8, verse 8 and 76 of the Quran, when Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they became sick, the Prophet of Islam advised for Imam Ali, Imam Lady Fatima Zahra, to fast for 3 days, or they themselves decided to fast for 3 days. And the family did this all together. Imam Ali fasted, Lady Fatima fasted, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein fasted all together for 3 days. So they did an act of worship together, not just the parents did it, they did it together. And then you see that the verse that comes for the Ahlul Bayt, very beautifully, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا. And it mentions, for the love of him, the love of God, they feed the needy, miskinan wa yatiman wa asira, the orphan and the prisoner. Because each night, some narrations say it was one night this happened. I think the majority says 3 nights, that they had a amount food, and they gave that food each night to different people, and they would fast only with water. Then it mentions إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. This is a saying, very beautiful. The Quran is quoting Ahlul Bayt, saying, we feed you only for the sake of Allah. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We desire no reward from you, nor thanks. Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, their actions is without any type of minna. You owe me something. You just took my iftar. You just took the iftar for my children. You know, that happened to me once. I was doing tabligh somewhere, and I didn't tell that person I was fasting, and I made a grilled cheese sandwich. And because I knew there wasn't going to be food at the mosque, I was traveling somewhere, and the brother kept asking, "Are you going to eat that sandwich? How come you're not eating that sandwich? How come you're not?" I'm like, "No, leave it alone. It's there." So I just left it in his car to come back. And then, it was iftar time, and there wasn't food because, at the masjid yet until dinner. So then I came towards the sandwich, and then I was like, "What happened?" And he said, "Oh, I thought you didn't like me. You didn't want the sandwich. I ate it, brother." I was like, I didn't tell him, I was fasting. I was like, oh no. But that happens if someone takes your iftar. It's really difficult. But then, of course, I had dinner a little bit afterwards, of course. But imagine someone takes your dinner and your family's dinner, or you give it to them, and you don't have any minnah to them. So worshiping together, you have acts of worshiping, reciting salawat together, reciting Quran together. Make the home, and one of the benefits of COVID, even though it has raged havoc around the world, one of the benefits of COVID is that these majalis, these gatherings, are coming to your house. This house is now a Husseiniya. This house is now an Islamic center. This house is a place where you're now listening to the speech. Many people wanted majlis in their home. Many people wanted Mawludi in their home, birth anniversaries of the Imams in their homes. And it brings this worship together, and you sit together and watch. So practicing, of course, not forcing him too much, but in a balanced way, worshiping together, like the verse of It'am. So this is the third. First, showing and expressing love. 2, teaching. 3, worshiping together. 4, leading by example. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, obviously, there are different factors. He's infallible, but there are factors when you have Imam Ali alayhi salam be your father, when you have Rasulullah be your grandfather, and you have Lady Fatima be your mother. There are factors that cause people to excel and reach completion or reach even higher levels of perfection. And one of them is that Imam Hassan alayhi salam had perfect examples. Our kids, they basically just manifest what we do. They just almost mimic what we do. Whatever bad behavior you do, they learn it very fast. Inshallah, you have good behavior, they learn that very fast too. They're just almost a mirror at a young age of whatever you do. So, one of the desires that parents have is to always become what that parent did not become. But that's not how it works. Children become, how their parents are at the very beginning, especially. It's not just whatever you think or you desire for them to become. So the best way is to lead by example. When you look at stories of the Prophet of Islam, in the way with Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and he would teach and guide people, and then Imam Hassan very easily would follow the Prophet of Islam. Let me share with you a story. Once a Bedouin came, and he did not say salam to the Prophet of Islam. He didn't say salam. He came to him, and he said, "Oh Muhammad, I hate you. I never saw you, but I truly hate you. I hate you even more now." Disrespecting our Prophet. In hadith, I'm just attributing this, to hadith. So it's narrated that the Arabi will say, "You think you are a prophet? What is your proof? What is your proof that you're a prophet?" In a very bad way. And we see here that, but how, how the Prophet answers him. If the Prophet was, we have in the Quran, if he was going to have bad akhlaq, if he's going to have, if he's going to have a harsh heart, people would not be around him. He would push people away from him. قال إن أحببت أخبرك عضو من أعضائي. If you like, a part of me will inform you. He says, how do you know you are a prophet? Then he says, somebody from my family. So he's leading by example. The Prophet of Islam didn't say, oh, you're disrespecting me. I truly hate you. Get him. He's one person. Grab him. He's disrespecting a messenger of God. No, I will inform you, but he sends Imam Hassan alayhi salam. So Imam Hassan alayhi salam is going to learn from the akhlaq of the Prophet. And it says, then he informs them, then Imam Hassan comes, and again, in the same way, the akhlaq of his grandfather, he recites poetry full of wisdom. He calms a person down. He recites poetry for him. And then he informs him of what's going to happen, of what happened to the man. And he says, then he informs him what is going to happen. Tell him that your plan is to kill the messenger, your tribe will pay for the family. And then a storm came. So he let him know that your tribe sent you to come here and that you're going to kill the Prophet. And then they would pay for your family. Obviously, you would die and they would take care of your family. So that person becomes shocked and this information. So he gets interested with Islam. So instead of confronting him, Imam Hassan alayhi salam first recited poetry and gave him some information that proved for them Islam. قال له ما الإسلام? They asks him, what is Islam? And Imam Hassan alayhi salam, obviously learning from his grandfather, Islam is Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله فأسلم وحسن إسلامه. And this person, with the akhlaq, with the ethics, with the leadership of the Prophet and Imam Hassan alayhi salam following, he becomes Muslim. And then he teaches him something from the Quran. And then he says, the messenger says, Ya Rasulullah, arji ila qawmi, let me go back to my people. And then he's going to teach them the Quran back to his people. So not only did he came to kill the Prophet of Islam, now he became someone that is calling people to Islam. So we learn, our children are very smart. They see how we behave and how we react. Some parents, they make the mistake of thinking that, they have to hide everything from their children, even their anger. Or sometimes, parents fight, spouses fight, and they have to hide it. And they're like, pretending everything is okay. And they're like, giving signs like, this to each other, like, when the children are not looking, I'm gonna, this, and there, someone's like this, and the other one's like, I'm gonna do this. And the child's gonna find out. It's okay to be angry, but the child wants to learn by example. The child is going to get angry. Children get angry very fast. I have a Sayyid child. He's Sayyid and he's a child, so two factors of anger. But what is more important is you teach that child how to control their anger. Anger is a normal part of life. It's a normal reaction. But what is more important is that you learn from our Imams, Kadmul Ghayb. As I said, I'm not a good example of this, but in general, that you learn that how to control my anger, and that will be a better lesson for him than pretending that I never got angry, because that's not real. People get angry in this world, but how did I control my anger? And how I, separated myself, or at least I tried to run away, So therefore, leading by example is the fourth way that you can see the Ahlul Bayt, Prophet of Islam. When a person comes, and says, you're a liar, na'udhu billah, you're not a prophet. Maybe somebody wanted to hit him or something, but he refrained and sent his grandson to him. Send him someone very special to him. So, and the last is that environment that we have. We have to be very careful of that micro and macro environment that we have for our children. Okay, so I'm just in the beginning. Yes, this is a real background, just in the beginning, so you guys aren't tired in the middle. We have some questions. So is this a real or virtual background? This is real. Some people were wondering why when I have this background, I'm using green screens, but it's because I didn't want it to repeat all the time. Please let us show stories too of Islamic personalities, sure, inshallah. Okay, so anyways, I'll have a few more questions here. I'm going to answer, inshallah. So when it comes to Imam raising our children, the last is environment. You can live in an environment that is an Islamic country and you think that everything is okay, and they could be in a religious city like the city of Rome. And you think, oh, okay, now it's a good city, it's a religious city. They're free, they can go everywhere. You know, that's a big mistake. I saw that many people from the West, when they migrated from the West to a Muslim country, they made this mistake. They thought that, okay, now I'm free and clear. And it's kind of like, you know, after COVID, everyone's like, I'm free and clear, I got the vaccine, and, or, you know, they remove their masks and sometimes it's worse. It's not, you should always be on guard, you know, until the danger is over. In this world, the danger is never over. So they allow their children to hang out with family members and cousins, and they trust them because they think they're family members. And then after a while, they say, oh, their child became corrupt. So in the same way, that environment that you live in, even if it is it's that, you know, outside that that the macro environment that you live in is important, but what is more important is that micro environment, that environment that directly affects your children. And what is that environment? The family environment, friends of the family, schools, people that the child's going to associate with. So this doesn't matter if you're in a non-Muslim country or a Muslim country. You both have to always be careful of that environment. You always have to be careful of their friends, even spouses. You know, I was getting, you know, sometimes there's questions about, you know, my spouse has some friends that, you know, maybe they're not good, you know, should I advise them, you know? And yes, of course, you should advise. Always give advice to each other, spouses. And you look at the example of Zuhair, for example, and how his wife, Zuhair, didn't want to talk to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He was, you know, a follower of Uthman, and he didn't want to talk to Imam Hussein. And then later on, when their caravans passed by each other, Imam Hussein alayhi salam summoned him. The wife told him, look, Imam Hussein is summoning you. Why don't you go to see him? She advised her husband. And Zuhair goes and sees Imam Hussein alayhi salam with one meeting and falls in love with Abi Abdullah alayhi salam. Truly falls in love. Somebody that didn't even want to, you know, walk, you know, or meet with Imam Hussein, or their paths, he didn't want their paths to cross. And then he falls in love with Imam Hussein and becomes a martyr, and one of the 72 martyrs of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So you see sometimes the advice of the spouse, sometimes the advice of the parents, how effective it is for that environment that you have. Who you're friends with, who do you meet, who are you in contact with? You know, maybe you should have less contact with this person, or maybe more with this person, or you know, you're very careful of who you live with. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they had the best environment. Obviously, we can't have that environment, but we're learning by example. You know, that Imam Ali, Lady Fatima, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Lady Zainab, Kulthum, the Prophet of Islam. You know, so you see the beautiful environment of Medina, the beautiful environment of also that micro environment around is going to affect children. So we have to be very careful at the same time before it's too late. Who do they associate with? Who are their friends? You know, who sometimes we always allow children to choose their own friends. Maybe you should help it from the very beginning. You know, if you see a good parents, hang out more with those parents, you know, and so your children can play with each other. So you choose, you go and find, you know, suitable people that your children can associate with. So the last thing tonight is that environment that we have, and that's going to be very impactful. My recommendation is, you know, to try to find and build in the long term. There is, alhamdulillah, in Southern California, there are Islamic schools. For those parents that, you know, it's hard for them, Islamic schools, Sundays, at least Sundays in the mosques have Sunday schools, send their children to Sunday schools. But even then, Sunday is once a week. It's not going to do that job, because Sunday is the day of relaxation and rest. And now the child has to go to school. It's hard. But would it be better than that? You go to Sunday school, but what's better than that is going to Islamic schools. You know, and we have, alhamdulillah, good Islamic schools, but sometimes we might have to sacrifice a little to move closer to those Islamic schools. And those will have a very good impact. And also, besides that, as I said, the school isn't the only solution. The environment, their friends, you know, the family members and who you associate with. And therefore, hopefully tonight we can learn from Imam Hassan alayhi salam, the delight of the Prophet, the love of the Prophet, and that we learn these 5 things in child development: showing love and expressing love to our children, teaching them, worshiping together, and leading by example, and environment. At the end, there are a few questions I'm going to answer. I do apologize if I don't see them right away. So we're going to answer a few questions. Some of them are not related to this topic, but it's okay. Iran is a Muslim and a country of followers of Ahlul Bayt. When is coronavirus having such an impact on Iran? Is that a punishment? So these are things that it's up to our Lord. We do not have knowledge from our Lord. First of all, we have traditions that for the believer, bala happens faster and calamities happen faster. Why do calamities happen faster to the believer? Why do calamities happen more to the prophets? Two ways that calamities happen. One is for punishment, as you mentioned, ta'deeb. The other is for tarfi, and to raise rank. There's 2 reasons bala happen. One is to eliminate and to remove the bad that has been done, for ta'deeb, like you hit a child for something they have done bad. The other is for tarfi, for their position to be raised. So yes, when these things happen, and also there's a third factor too, remember always. There's also, besides spiritual factors, there's material factors. You know, people have to be careful when it comes to coronavirus or COVID. People have to wear masks. Some of the doctors, even in Iran, they were mentioning that if 97% of people wore masks, that they would, you know, there wouldn't be really any COVID or coronavirus anymore. So one is the behavior of the people, one is the physical factors, and the second are the spiritual factors. And that could be because the bala happens to believers more, first of all, and it could raise rank. The other is that it could be for ta'deeb also, you know, for expiation of sins. These are up to Allah. You can't imagine that a believer has faith and they will not be tested. So this world is the world of tests. It's not the world of result. Don't try to find, you know, just results in this world. The results will be in the hereafter. Can you recommend a few Islamic books? But my recommendations usually for books are the books from Sayyid Musawi Lari, who passed away, and his books have been translated in many different languages. He has a series in beliefs, God and his attributes. You can learn about God. He has a book on prophethood, Musawi Lari. Now, I don't know, I don't think you can type together, but you can, you know, I don't think these messages will go, you know, Musavilari. Professor Hamid Algar in Berkeley translated some of them, and he has a book about resurrection. These are beginning books I recommend for you to study theology of your beliefs, and he has basically the Usul al-Din in these few books that he has. So I recommend to look at his books about God. You could type in his online God and his attributes by Musa Ilari, start with that, and read the other books from him. If something is written in the taqdeer of someone by Allah, can it be changed by prayers and du'as? Yes. Good question. If you study theology, you understand that there's a taqdeer and a qada. Two words. One is taqdeer, one is qada. One is destiny, the other is decree. You can change taqdeer, but you cannot change qada, you cannot change decree. Decree is what is written in Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved, the guarded tablet, and God knows. So there are two forms of things that are set for us. One you could say is it's still being finalized, and the other is final. And God has access to that knowledge, that final that will not change. But this is a little difficult theological instruction, but I'll say it in a few minutes, maybe in a minute. So somebody is supposed to live for 50 years. He goes and visits his family members, he does Silatul Rahim, and his life gets added 10 years. His taqdeer was 50 years, but because of his actions, he extends his life to 60. So in this example, taqdeer is 50 years, qada, and his decree was 60. God knows he was going to live 60. But what was first set was 50, but he changes that. And when that change happens, it's called bada. Bada happens, a change happens. Or in the same opposite way, somebody was supposed to live for 60 years, he does a sin, and sin, one of the sins that shortens someone's life. Instead of living 60 years, he lives for 50 years. So therefore, there is one set that can be changed, and that is the destiny, and you can change it, and that is actually a very good thing for us, because that means even if something is written for us, we can still change it. And that also means we should pay more attention, because even if something is written for us that is good, we can destroy it. So yes, and that is maybe the knowledge that the people have, they have access to that knowledge. But that Lawh al-Mahfuz, Kitab, that type of knowledge might be very specific for God, and that is, the complete decree, the qada, that will happen at the final, that doesn't ever change. That never changes. And you have verses in the Quran that allude to this, but yes, you can change your decree, and you can change it with your actions, inshallah. Inshallah, Allah changes all our destinations for the best, inshallah, gives us long lives, inshallah, gives us children, those that are looking and doing dua for children, gives them children, inshallah, those that want to be married because of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, give them marriage, inshallah, make us successful parents, make us good parents, allow us to show love and express love to our child, teach our children, worship together with our children, leading by example, and creating a very good environment, environment that when the angels look, as we look in the sky, we see stars. And when the angels from the other side look at earth and they look at us, they see stars as well. And those stars are those houses and households that their house is full of recitation of Quran and ibadat. So inshallah, our house will be one of those shining homes, inshallah, that the angels see. May Allah give us the, inshallah, shafa'at of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, the shafa'at of his grandfather, Rasulullah, Ya Aba Muhammad, Ya Hassan ibn Ali, Ayyuha al-Mushtaba, Ya ibn Rasulullah, Ya Hujjat Allahi ala khalqi, Ya Sayyidina wa Mawlana. For all those that have a hajat, many people said, do dua for me. Inshallah, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, because of Imam Hassan, Allah will answer their dua, inshallah. Ya Sayyidina wa Mawlana, inna tawajjahna wa stashfa'na wa tawassalna bika ila Allah wa qaddamnaka bayna yaday hajatina. We put forth to you, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, our hajat. You have many different hawa'ij. And when you do dua, don't only do dua for yourself, do dua for everybody else that is facing that challenge. Inshallah, Allah will make your problem solved, inshallah. For all those that are sick, for all those that are suffering, for those that are in oppression, in starvation, وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. Expedite the return of Sahib al-Amri al-Zaman and make us of his followers, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
My God, this tribulation has become agonizing.
إلهي أعظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء.
It's now out in the open.
وانكشف الغطاء.
The veil has been lifted.
وانقطع الرجاء.
All hope has been lost. Everyone is at a loss. The heaven has been blocked. You are the one from whom help is sought. You are the one to whom grievances are brought. You are the one who is relied upon in times of both severity and prosperity. O God, bless Muhammad and members of his family who are the rightful leaders. You have made it obligatory for us to obey them. And through this obedience, you have made their true status known to us. So please, give us relief for their sake. A swift and prompt relief within the blink of an eye, or even quicker than that.
Ya Muhammad,
O Muhammad, O Ali, O Ali, O Muhammad, protect me as you two are truly capable of doing so. Help me as you two are truly capable of helping me.
Ya Mawlana,
O our Master, the Lord of the age, help me, help me, help me, take hold of me, take hold of me, take hold of me, at this moment, at this moment, at this moment. Hurry, hurry, hurry. O God, the most merciful of all who show mercy, have mercy on me for the sake of Muhammad and the pure members of his family.
عشق زندگیمی خیلی کریمی یا مولا دل سپرده داری کشت مرده داری تو سفره داری یا مولا دل به غیر تو دادن خدایی کفره جز در خونه تو گدایی کفره آخه تو با گداها میشی هم سفره جانم حسن ای جان جانانم عربي فاطمي عطائك سفرة سخائك تذهب ضيائك يا مولاي بحر الفضائل ما يحصر ساحل احسب سائل يا مولاي من وجودك تروي دليل الهايم حاجة عندي تحلها وعطائك دائم باكر اشفع لي حتما عليك القاسم جانا حسن جانا حسن اي جانا ترکی sen benim baharım ziba nigarım daru nedarım hoş ve dolanım cüzlere kurban derdime derman ey can canım hoş ve dolanım benim ağlar cüzüme rahmilet canan daynan can dudağa can sana kurban seni çok isterim ben emir sultan canım Hasan canım البته ترکیش به زبون منه جانم حسن ای جان افغانی ای کریم بهد ای نور سرمد سبت محمد یا مولا من فدای نامت هستم غلامت گویم سلامت یا مولا شب چراغ محمد قولي تهائي مثل حيدر حسن جان تو هم مولائي بهتريني كريمة بن الزهراء جانا حسن جانا حسن اي جانا حسن جانا شما بهتر بردی بکنم نزدیکه ای کریم بهد ای نور سرمد سبت محمد یا مولا من فدای نامت هستم غلامت گویم سلامت یا مولا شب چراغ محمد گلی تهایی مثل حیدر حسن جان تو هم مولایی بهترینی کریمه بن الزهرائی جانم حسن جان ای جان جانانم حسن جانم حسن جانم حسن اردو ای نگین کوثر ای کرم که بیکر نور حق مظهر یا مولا तुम हो मेरे रहबर तुम है दिल के अंदर मैं तेरा कलंदर या मौला मैं आशिक हो तेरा है मेरे मौला हो मैं तेरा गादा है मेरे मौला तो दुआ तो शिफा है मेरे मौला جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانم حسن جانم حسن هلا هلا جانم حسن جانم حسن جانم حسن ای جان جانم خیلی رحیمی کارت کریمی یار صمیمی یا مولا نقش نگینی مسند نشینی شور آفرینی یا مولا چی میشه در های رحمتو با کنی با یه گوشه نگاهت تو شیدام کنی شب جمعه راهی کربلام کنی مولا حسن سیف 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 سیف